Good evening everyone, myself Dr. Gyanis Makwana, working as a cardiac physiotherapist grade 2 in UN Mehta Institute of Cardiology and Research Center. Today we talk about COPD and its physiotherapy management. Overview of the topic are definition, etiology, types, pathophysiology, clinical features, diagnostic evaluation and management. First of all, we see definition. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is a disease state characterized by airflow limitation that is not fully reversible. The airflow limitation is usually both progressive and associated with an abnormal inflammatory response of the lungs to noxious particles or gases. COPD is an ill-defined term that is often applied to the patient who have combination of chronic bronchitis and emphysema which frequently occur together, and it may include asthma. Thus, the COPD is a group of diseases. COPD is the third most deadliest disease, with the cardiovascular and all type of cancer taking first and second place respectively. Now, etiology. COPD has primary two causes. First one is inhalation factor and second is genetic. In inhalation factor, the main cause is cigarette smoke, which may be active or passive smoking. Inhalation of other factors like chemical, air pollution and occupational dust has less impact but can play a role in development of COPD. The affected age group are greater than 40 years and males are more affected than females. The other cause is genetic, which involving inheriting alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. This order primarily affects the surfactant production and integrity of alveolar sac, which lead to the early onset of emphysema. The age group affected are less than 45 years and having strong family history of COPD. Now, types. COPD include chronic bronchitis, emphysema and may include asthma. What is chronic bronchitis? Bronchitis is inflammation of mucous membrane of bronchi, and chronic bronchitis is defined in clinical terms as presence of chronic productive cough for 3 months in each of 2 successive years. The other cause may be ruled out for chronic mucus production such as cystic fibrosis, TB or bronchiectasis. This is the image of normal bronchi and the inflamed and narrowed airway in bronchitis. Now, emphysema. Emphysema is clinically defined as condition of the lung characterized by destruction of alveolar walls, enlargement of air spaces distal to terminal bronchiole, including respiratory bronchiole, alveolar duct and alveoli. There are 3 subtypes: centrilobular or centriacinar, panlobular or panacinar, and the third one is paraseptal, which is distal acinar or subpleural. First one, centrilobular emphysema, that is proximal dilation of respiratory bronchiole with alveolar duct and sac remain normal. The affected segment are upper and posterior portion of the lung. Second, panacinar emphysema, that is dilation of all respiratory air spaces in acinus frequently at the lung bases, which seen in emphysema associated with alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. Third one is paraseptal or distal acinar, dilation of air spaces underneath the apical pleura associated with apical bulla, that is large air collection contained within the outer wall, and if it bursts it can lead to spontaneous pneumothorax. And asthma, increased reactivity of trachea and bronchi to various stimuli such as cold, allergens, exercise, which is reversible in nature. The asthmatic episodes occur due to narrowing of airway due to inflammation, smooth muscle constriction and increased secretion, and even during remission of asthmatic attack some degree of airway inflammation is still present. Now, pathophysiology of COPD. COPD is a combination of diseases, thus it presents as a combination of pathological features. First one, hyperplasia of mucus secreting cells, second, reactive airways, and third, destruction of terminal bronchiole and alveolar sac destruction. It will reduce airflow out of the air sac and airway, which result in hyperinflation and poor gas exchange. In pathophysiology, inhalation exposure is often initiating factor to an inflammatory response in airway and alveoli that lead to disease, especially if the individual is genetically susceptible. Increase in protease activity and decrease in antiprotease activity initiate inflammation, which ultimately break down elastin and connective tissue, result in hyperplasia of mucus secreting cells. If inhalation exposure continue for long term, inflammatory damage may not be reversible despite of smoking cessation or removal of inhalation exposure. In addition to inflammatory response, risk of infection may occur due to impairment in ciliary action of airway, which assists in secretion removal. As a result, airway obstruction occurs due to excessive mucus production, mucus plugging, edema of mucous lining, increased reactivity of airway and eventual bronchial fibrosis and destruction of terminal airway. Thus, the destruction of elastic recoil of airway and air sac occur, which result in emphysematous changes in lungs. This is the image of normal respiratory bronchial alveoli. In chronic bronchitis, air tubes narrow as a result of swollen tissue and excessive mucus production. In asthma, edema of respiratory mucosa and excessive mucus production obstruct airway, and in emphysema, enlargement of destruction of alveolar walls. Clinical features: cough initially may intermittent, but as disease progress it become present daily and throughout the day. Second is dyspnea. Patient describe as increased effort to breathe, heaviness, air hunger or gasping usually occur on strenuous exercise such as stair climbing. Fever may occur due to chest infection. In sputum, initially it may be mucoid and purulent secretion in episode of infection. The common pathogens present are Streptococcus pneumonia and Haemophilus influenza. Wheeze may be present. It is high pitched musical sound heard in expiratory phase. Signs and symptoms: exercise tolerance reduced due to episode of breathlessness. Deformity present are barrel chest, thoracic movement diminished due to hyperinflation of the lung and paradoxical indrawing in the intercostal spaces. CORP, that is right sided heart failure, present in later stage of COPD, having signs like jugular vein distension, ankle or lower leg swelling. Cyanosis and clubbing in advanced stages due to chronic hypoxemia. Other signs are psychological and cognitive impairment. Psychological impairment can be present in COPD patients such as anxiety and depression in stage 4 cases, prevalence 2.5 times more than normal healthy individual. Cognitive is also prevalent in COPD cases, which are recent memory loss, cognition activity, number sequencing and language orientation. Now, physical findings. In COPD, lungs are chronically overfilled with the air and cannot deflate normally and become expanded over time. Thus, the barrel chest deformity occurred. In normal adult, epidiameter and transverse diameter is 1 gem 2, but in barrel chest it is equal, or maybe epidiameter may be increased in barrel chest deformity. This is tripod position. As disease progress, patient with COPD acquire forward leaning posture to relieve breathlessness by stabilizing the shoulder girdle to allow respiration to maximizing the lung volume. Now, diagnostic evaluation. Pulmonary function test to assess the COPD spirometry measure are FEV1, FVC, FEV1, FVC ratio. FEV1 is forced expiratory volume in 1 second, which is reduced according to stages as disease progresses. Normal is 80%. FVC, forced vital capacity, expel air following deep inhalation, and FEV1 FVC ratio less than 0.70 to determine airflow limitation, and that is not fully reversible. Now, stages, that is Gould Initiative for Chronic Obstructive Lung Disease, that is classification of COPD severity based on the post bronchodilator study. Stage is 1, that is mild, FEV1 predicted value greater than 80% with FEV1 FVC ratio less than 0.7 with symptom of chronic cough and sputum production. Stage 2, that is moderate, FEV1 predicted value 50 to 80% with FEV1 FVC ratio less than 0.7 and symptoms are chronic cough, sputum and dyspnea. Stage 3, that is severe with FEV1 predicted value 30 to 50% with FEV1 FVC ratio less than 0.7 and symptoms are chronic cough, sputum and dyspnea. Final stage is very severe, FEV1 less than 30%, FEV1 FVC ratio less than 0.7 with symptoms are chronic cough, sputum, dyspnea, respiratory or right sided heart failure along with weight loss. Now, lung volume and capacity, it will be differ in obstructive lung disease compared to normal. In COPD cases, vital capacity is normal to reduce, residual volume and functional residual capacity is increased and total lung capacity is normal to increase due to hyperinflation of the lung. Blood reports leukocytosis due to chest infection, ABG showing low PO2 level, and in severe cases rise in the PaCO2. Auscultation, coarse crepitation heard in inspiratory phase and wheezing, that is high pitched musical sound, in expiratory phase. Now X-ray finding. First one is normal with normal aerated lung field. In bronchitis, bronchovascular prominency with the congestive changes, and in emphysema, hyperinflation of the lung with flattening of diaphragm. Now CT scan, it is helpful in early diagnosis for emphysematous changes and bulla formation in COPD cases. This is the reference images with absence of emphysema to different emphysematous type. First one is absence of emphysema. B is centrilobular emphysema with central part affected with tiny patches. C is paraseptal emphysema with bulla formation, and D is panlobular emphysema with diffuse hyperlucency. Now blue bloater and pink puffer differentiation. In blue bloater, patient is obese with comparatively mild dyspnea, copious sputum which may become infected, low PO2 and high PaCO2 due to hypoventilation, and central cyanosis and core P may be present with peripheral edema and increased residual volume but normal lung capacity. In pink puffer, patient may be anxious expression with severe breathlessness and little or no sputum production, relatively normal PO2 and normal PaCO2 due to hyperventilation early on in disease, and central cyanosis and development of core P in later stage of diseases. Generally no peripheral edema until the late stage, and increase total lung capacity due to hyperventilation. This is image of COPD with chronic bronchitis or emphysema dominant cases. In chronic bronchitis, patient will be overweight, cyanotic with elevated hemoglobin, peripheral edema, rhonchi and wheezes present. In emphysema, patient is thin with severe dyspnea, quiet chest and hyperinflation of the lung with flattened diaphragm. Now we will see management. In medical management, first bronchodilator medication used to alter the smooth muscle tone, that is long acting and short acting beta 2 agonist and anticholinergic such as salbutamol, levosalbutamol and ipratropium bromide. Second is anti-inflammatory medication to reduce inflammation, inhaled glucocorticosteroid use in stage 3 and 4 COPD cases, in some cases IV steroid use. Third is antibiotic to use the lung infection. Fourth, influenza vaccine is recommended yearly as well as pneumococcal vaccine, that is one time, to help prevent respiratory infection. Fifth one is treatment of sleep apnea in COPD patient is important as the nocturnal hypoxemia is present in more severe than general population. Thus, the use of oxygen therapy used to prevent hypoxia in night time. In this O2 therapy, maintain SpO2 level 85 to 90% with PO2 of 55 mmHg. Sixth one is smoking cessation is essential to medical management of COPD, which can slow the rate of deterioration of lungs. Now surgical management, that is excision of bulla to improve the lung function and reduce dyspnea episode. Second is LVRS, lung volume reduction surgery in emphysema. It helps to improve lung mechanics and respiratory muscle function by reducing the hyperinflation. It is palliative and very costly surgery. Now we will see physiotherapy management. The plan of care are decrease the amount and viscosity of secretion and removal of secretion. Second is improve the patient breathing pattern and ventilation. Third one is promote relaxation of accessory muscle to release muscle tension. Fourth is improve mobility of thorax. Fifth is improve posture, and sixth is increase exercise tolerance. First, decrease the amount and viscosity of secretion and removal of secretion. First, nebulization, which we have discussed in medical management. In COPD, airway are very reactive, so the administration of bronchodilator are very helpful. First, beta 2 agonist which relax airway by stimulating beta 2 adrenergic receptors. Example is asthalin. Second is mucolytic to loosen sick secretion. Example is mucomix. And third is anticholinergic, that blocking the muscarinic receptor on the bronchial smooth muscle and acetylcholine activity and thus release spasm. The example is ipratropium bromide. Second, postural drainage. Place the patient in position according to the secretion identified in different lung area. Clapping, vibration or sucking technique used in affected lung area to loosen and mobilize the secretion, and then ask the patient to do coughing and huffing maneuver to expectorate secretion. Avoid postural drainage if patient having any relative contraindication like severe hemoptysis, pulmonary edema, congestive heart failure, pneumothorax, unstable angina, myocardial infarction or having recent neurosurgery. This is the image of postural drainage according to the affected lung area. This is humidification, which help in mucus clearance and reduce viscosity of mucus and help in expectoration. In long term ventilated patient, dry air cause mucociliary dysfunction. Thus, humidification is very helpful to maintain airway clear and patent. Now, suction. It is artificial way to remove secretion. Patients who are very weak or old aged and who have poor cough reflex or with artificial airway such as ET tube and tracheostomy tube, suctioning may be required. Second, improve patient breathing pattern and ventilation. First is breathing exercise, in which controlled diaphragmatic breathing used. Patient in relaxed and comfortable position such as semi-fowler position. Place the hand on abdomen and ask the patient to breathe in slowly and deeply through nose and exhale through mouth. Second is pursed lip breathing in COPD to relieve dyspnea. Patient assume comfortable position, ask the patient to breathe in slowly through nose, then breathe out gently through pursed lip like blowing candles. And in pursed lip breathing, expiration must be relaxed. This is in situ spirometry. It is a form of ventilatory training, emphasize on sustained maximum inspiration, and it provides visual and auditory feedback to patient about target maximum inspiration reach. 3 is promote relaxation of accessory muscle of inspiration to release muscle tension. Positioning for relaxation to decrease muscle tension associated with dyspnea in COPD cases. The first one is in bed, relax head up position in bed. Trunk, arm, head are well supported. In sitting, tripod position, that is forward leaning position. In standing, ask the patient to lean forward on an object or an wall. Fourth is improve mobility of thorax, that is lateral stretch and pectoral stretch. These are the exercises to improve chest mobility, to improve breathing and chest expansion in COPD patient. Fifth is to improve posture. In COPD patient having rounded shoulder and kyphotic posture, and this is the exercise to decrease the rounded shoulder and improve chest expansion. Sixth is increase exercise tolerance. COPD having feature of limitation of exercise and activity limitation, and exercise training a core component of pulmonary rehab, improve exercise capacity of COPD patient in spite of irreversible abnormality of lung function, and exercise training is depending on individual need of the patient. Exercise we used upper body stretching, resistance training, walking, cycling or treadmill walking. Initially, mild intensity exercise is preferable in patient living with COPD, which is 10 to 15 minutes, then it gradually increase up to 20 to 30 minutes for 3 to 4 days per week. RPE scale, that is rate of perceived exertion, used to avoid over exertion and prevent shortness of breath. Interval training can also indicated in COPD patient because it can lessen the burden on ventilatory muscles. Thank you.